Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Main Project Monday here at TGIK Games. We have two main projects right now. One of them is Gods of Olympus, which we have basically finished development on as of this weekend. We now go to rulebook writing, and we do have one playtest group working right now on a couple little things, but for the most part, development's basically done. We now have to write the rules. So what that means for me, I'm going to start working on our next game, start working on. As you can see, I already have stuff written down here, but I need to start making some real progress on this game and not just kind of start and stop, which this is going to be the third time I've restarted this game. I actually wrote these notes down, last edit was in December. Yeah, December 18th, so a month and a half ago. So we are going to do a little bit of review here, and then we're going to see what other ideas I can come up with in the meantime, and let's see where we get to. The basic premise, if you're unfamiliar with NecroMansion, the basic premise is that it's kind of my answer to player elimination, where killing your friends and killing your enemies is a part of the game, but when you get killed, you don't actually die, you respawn. And you will respawn as basically your soul and your body will get split, and you become a skeleton somewhere in the mansion, and you become a ghost somewhere else, a spirit somewhere else in the mansion. So that's a mechanic we have to play around with, but that's basically the premise of this game. So players, they are going to start as living people in the game, and living characters. So players they're going to get a gold card. So players are going to start as living. You can see that there. Players are going to get a gold card, and it will basically determine what their motivation is. The question is, what I don't like about this idea is that it seems, this is going to sound weird, but it seems early to lock people in. Now, I'm thinking of games like Resistance, where everybody knows, you're either red or you're blue, and you know who your motivations line up with. But I feel like in this, the whole premise of this game is being able to swap back and forth, like actively. Like if I no longer want to be living, I can actually do things to become an undead character, and vice versa. But so if that's kind of like the focus, can the goals switch as well? Do I want to lock players into something that early? I don't know. I prefer the idea of keeping a continuous back and forth, but then that gets really messy in when do players determine what side they play for? It could really get messy in terms of motivations and what you expect players to do. And while this does seem early, let's keep it clean for now. So basically at this point, we're just going to leave it. We're just going to say that players have gold cards. Now, if you're a living character, now those gold cards, if you are, your goal is to win as a living character, you want to kill the necromancer, which means you need to summon the necromancer to kill him or her. I think there's an expansion where it's the wife of the necromancer. So being that this is a modern culture of board games, and this is a good thing, by the way. It's important to represent. Don't fall into the trap of calling everything him and he. So yes, while we would start with a male necromancer, the expansion would certainly be the wife of the necromancer. So dead players, they want to seal the house up and open up a soul portal. So this is the first spot where we had the idea of, let's do kind of expansion work with this, where it's a story that starts with this mansion that gets taken over by the necromancer, and therefore becomes the NecroMansion. and their goal is essentially to turn it into a portal where spirits and skeletons can enter this living world at will. So undead players basically want to perform rituals in order to close, lock out the living, so to speak. There is a down below, if you can visualize this. Imagine the mansion on top of a hill, and down below there is a town, and then the town will get folded into the. What are we saying? The town's going to get folded into the mechanics of the game, which we'll get there. So, okay, so players have their goal cards, and then players are going to go from room to room. They're looking for auras and items. Now, auras are a part of the game, and I'm not going to get into the mechanics of that right now, mostly because I'm not entirely familiar with what I have in my notes, and I feel like it would just be too confusing for this kind of opening overview. So the opening board's going to have 12 rooms, 4 rooms each on 3 floors. The big question is, well, not the big question, but what do I have written here? Each room starts with a number of cards. Their cards waiting to be out of turn. Right. So, yeah, that's pretty straightforward. They're cards that you're searching through. A question becomes, what kind of movement do we want? So, imagine a clue board where there are a lot of individual squares in between the openings to the doors. Do we want to go that route where it turns into kind of like a roll and move, which means we need to add movement stats to players? Do we want to deal with movement stats? I don't know. Or do we want to do more generalized movement, like I'm moving outside the room, I'm now in the hallway. I move outside the room and am now in the hallway. Now, the question there becomes, what kind of engagement do you want? Like if there's one character at the far end of the hallway and I'm at the other end of the hallway, can they interact the same way that 2 characters right next to one another within the hallway could interact? Who knows? Let's see. Should there be floor regions instead? I like this more than one big floor. Okay. Let's see. Players go inside. They start looking around. Oh, so this is getting into this is kind of outlining a turn. So players go inside. They start looking around inside the mansion. This is why taking good, clear notes is important. Okay, so players go inside the mansion. They start looking around. What are they looking for? Cards will get. What are they looking for? Do I have it written down somewhere? Players can move back and forth. Blah blah blah. Okay, what are they looking for? That is a good question. Let's write it down. Players go inside the mansion. Start looking around. What are they looking for? So they're looking for items. They're looking for auras, which we'll get into later. They're looking for auras. They're looking for... Are they looking for anything else? So there's a reason why I started this game. This is the 3rd time I've started this game. I run into this problem of how do I build in, like, how does the card play work, and how many cards do I want? Do I want to have something like 150, 200 cards? Let's think about it. If there are 12 rooms and each room has 10 cards max, that's going to be 120 cards. Is that going to be enough to make the game interesting? Is it going to be enough to make the game replayable? I mean, these are all questions that I have to ask myself now, because it kind of determines how I go about attacking the rest of the game. So I really, it kind of stops me in my tracks the both times I've done it. And I think part of the problem there is that I haven't really been committed to jumping into this. It's more like, oh, I happen to have some time right now in between thing A and thing B, and thing that's life thing that's going on as well. So I'm going to put some time into this, and I then have to put a break in there, say for like a trip to Hawaii, and then I just lose track. So I mean, this is going to be like just sit down and do it. Quit complaining about it. So let's just say items and auras. Let's just leave it at that for now. What do the rest of these notes say? Cards will have a necromancer symbol. Soul gates could appear. Bone piles could appear. Spirits and skeletons will animate. Players can move back and forth from living to dead. That's important. So because of the main mechanic, I'm going to skip all of this jazz. These things. I'm going to skip these for now. We're going to go down to players. Players can move back and forth from living to dead. Going from dead to living. So combine a spirit and a bone pile that has an aura attached to it. To attach an aura, there needs to be a ritual. So we're going to say, let's do a player has died. What will then happen is a skeleton, a bone pile will appear. No, wait, hold on. Note. When a player dies, they reappear as a full skeleton and a spirit. I might have that written down somewhere else, but I need to make that note right now because I'm thinking about it. Okay. So a player will appear as a skeleton and they will appear as a spirit. I have not decided how they're going to get moved around because I don't feel like they should appear right next to each other. But maybe they will. I don't know. I feel like they should be split up a little bit. So when you go from dead to living, that's what happens. If you want to go from living to dead, you need to combine either your spirit or your skeleton with the opposite. So if you have your skeleton, you need to combine it with a spirit. If it's a spirit, you need to combine it with a skeleton. And then you will become among the living once again. And I should mention that a feature I want to add in this game is the fact that you can want the living side to win. You could want the necromancer to die, but you can actually play and function and do things to help the living as a dead character. That's infinitely interesting to me. So we are going to stick with that, kind of pin that in the background, and that's kind of what we're working towards. Oh, here we go. Get your spirit and skeleton to interact. So right, auras. Okay. So if you are a skeleton, basically, if you're a skeleton and you are not close to your spirit, but you are close to, say, a random spirit that's floating around that has an aura attached to it, you can then use that aura'd spirit to become a living character again. However, you would need to perform a separate ritual. Now, if you can get your spirit and your skeleton to actually interact directly, then you get a free ritual and no aura is required to actually become a living character again. So that's kind of the benefit of getting those two to interact once again. There are NPC characters, so this is where the village comes in. And they're going to be, the initiative tracks, that'll be fun. NPC characters, so there are villagers and they're unassigned dead characters. So the villagers, basically, here's kind of what the villagers are doing. The villagers are cheering for the living as the living go up to investigate the NecroMansion because the villagers are worried about what's going on up on top of the hill. Why it has to be up on top of the hill, I don't know. Maybe I'm falling victim to Hollywood and TV and such. Anyway, so the villagers, they cheer them on as they go up there. Well, as time goes by, the villagers, they get a little worried as nothing seems to be happening. So they will get bravery over the course of time. Like they want to go up there and check it out. So over time, villagers will show up at the front door, and villagers will become NPC characters that the players on the board can actually control. They would function just as a living character, but they may not have special abilities. They won't have. They'll be fodder for undead characters, but they will be something on the board that will create a little bit of randomness. No, not randomness. I mean, players are going to be controlling them, but they will create an extra element that needs to be considered when moving around the board and taking actions and such. Along with that, there will also be undead NPC characters, and the way those get added is we're going to go back up here. As living characters are searching the mansion, cards are going to have certain symbols on them. And certain symbols are going to summon either bone piles, they could open soul gates, they could activate the necromancer, I don't know if they'll go so far as to activating the necromancer. I mean, that's kind of a final, that's a meaningful action within the game or event within the game, so that needs a bit more thought than just a card flip. But as cards are turned over, essentially, just like the villagers will get brave over the course of time, the necromancer cards will populate the board with soul gates and bone piles. So there will be extra undead floating around. They won't be powered up. They could be powered up because living players as well. Players will have the option to perform auras on bone piles and soul gates, and things will happen. So let's keep going here. See what we've got. Initiative track. Players can move villagers and dead NPCs when it is the villager and dead turn on the initiative track. So basically, if I remember correctly, are we still? Yeah, we're still doing. If I remember correctly, everybody will have a token on the initiative track, including NPC characters, and when it's their turn, players will have the option to move one of the villagers or undead NPCs on the board. The bravery track, so this is what I was talking about with the villagers earlier. It will increase over time. When it increases, it will increase. The increase is equal to the number of players in the game minus living players equals bravery. Example, 5 players minus 2 living out of 5 total equals 3 bravery points. And so kind of my thematic justification for that is the villagers are inspired by the 2 people that are left in there and the 3 people that have given their lives, because the villagers don't know that they've been split into spirit and skeleton, so they think, oh, they gave their lives, so we can go up there and we can do it too. So basically that will increase the bravery track, and then this will make a lot more sense when I actually have some sort of like visual, which there's the start of my visual, which there's nothing there. So helpful. Right. Cannot have every player on the same side. Are we starting to have cards? We stacked 1 dead and 1 left. Oh, right. So I think this game falls apart if everybody ends up on the same side, because at that point it depends on the game to run an AI that functions properly. Now, that might be something that we do. It very well could be. It's probably something we should. However, the easy fix for this is ensuring that at least there's 1 dead card and 1 live card in the deck before rolls are handed out. Now, you might think, okay, well, that seems a bit unfair because there's only one player that wants the living side to win and they're going to get ganged up on. Well, here's the thing. The villagers over time for the living side, they are going to increase in number, so there'll just be more of them in there, assuming that living... Let me put this better. The living NPCs and the dead NPCs are the balance to... are my theory, and let me emphasize theory. They're my theory as to what will help balance an unbalanced player count or an unbalanced motivation count or something. I hope you know what I'm saying. Yeah. So written notes. Let's see. What do we have here? Can spirits remove cards from the game? Good question. Necro cards are symbols. On cards will spawn spirits. When a villager is undead, a number of bone piles and spirit gates will appear on the board. Yeah, not important right now. When a spirit gate, how do players come back? Players' spirits or skeletons need to find a pile of bones or spirit gate that has an aura attached to it. Via aura? What? That's got to be ritual. Or the player's spirit and skeleton combine and rejoin the living. Yep. Players, regardless of living situation, can perform rituals on bone piles and spirits. Once the correct number of rituals have been performed, players need to go to the center of the house to perform the final ritual. Yeah, this needs some thought. Some serious thought. I mean, I don't want to design a game that has an event in it that's so kind of that's more important than it needs to be. That's not the right way I want to. That's not the right way I want to word it. I don't want to give too much weight to a single moment in the game, but I want it to have some meaning. So, I don't know. It's something to think about. Something on my mind. One of the rituals players can perform is to increase or decrease the number of skeletons and spirits that spawn when the spawn cards are revealed. There needs to be some kind of... what is the undead counter to this? Build-in ritual where players can figure out how many players there are in each team. The idea is if there's 3v1 and the one player can figure out the goal distribution, they can perform a one-time ritual to help them out. Say give them an extra turn as the NPC on their side. This advantage only applies to the team that has fewer players. I mean, it sounds reasonable as a theory. I don't know if it's reasonable as an actual mechanic, but I guess we'll find out in time. Players must perform dead or alive rituals on other players' spirits and skeletons as an SG or BP? What does that mean? As an SG? Huh? Oh, Soulgate or Bone Pile. Jeez. If both are performed, the performing player gets to look at their goal card. Oh. Oh, that's interesting. Once a player knows or thinks they know they can perform the one ritual, roles will be revealed. If they are right, they get a bonus. If they are wrong, things carry on as is. Something just doesn't... It feels weird to reveal roles in such a definite, like a finite moment in time. It doesn't feel right to me. So I don't know. We'll leave it in there, but anchors 4 battlefield tickets allowed to respawn. What is this? Oh, here we go. Actions. I don't know what this is up here. Yeah, I have no idea what this is. Okay. Players have 3 actions. Add more gates, add bone pile, add card to gate, add card to gate. Why were we adding cards? Initiative ritual. Yeah, that makes sense. Temporary buffs or move or fight. Oh, temporary buffs to move or fight. Item rituals. Light works against dark and vice versa. Gates are method for necromancer to move around the board. Oh. Gates are method for necromancer to move around the board, for players to come back to life, or villagers to be removed from the board. Soul gates are one-way trips. Souls can move through walls. Actually, this should be spirits. I know this isn't entirely riveting. I'm not making any progress, but I am getting myself re-familiar. It's important. I mean, this is a very concrete example of what game design is all about. You write down your notes a month and a half ago or more, and I mean, I've been working on this since I started this sometime in the summer. But when gates have, oh, here we go. When gates have 3 cards on them, the cards are revealed, and the gate is given a light or dark token. Dark will remove villagers from the board, stop characters from becoming living again. They must find another gate. Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. So the idea is that because the living players are going to be running around grabbing items and taking auras and whatnot, so it feels one-sided if you say, okay, well, the living characters get to carry all the items and such. Well, now the dead characters, they get to carry the items as well. They just get to ferry them to different gates. And everybody's trying to turn these soul gates into portals that function more meaningfully for their side than anything else. And it's an interesting information point, because if I go to a soul gate and I add all 3 cards and it turns dark, which helps the dead side, well, then people know that I'm going to be on the dark, that I'll be rooting for the dead side, the necromancer. I think what I need to figure out is there a penalty for having your motivations revealed? I don't know. I feel like there should be. I have no idea what that penalty is. I don't even like penalty. I guess maybe so. Rather than a penalty, well, okay. Let's take a note here. Let's actually do something. Initiative track. Okay. Note. What are the bonuses for knowing what I mean, I know we talked about this with like the 3-on-1 situation and performing a ritual, and then all the roles are revealed, and I feel like I've got competing ideas going on in my head right now. So we need to let that one noodle for a while. Okay, there are tokens for players living and dead. There's spot, blah blah blah. If a player performs an initiative ritual, they will move only their own or the token that corresponds with their state of being. If a player performs, oh right, okay, meaning a dead player can move the undead NPC token. How many spaces? Probably 1. But it's worth writing down. The gate token will be moved when a gate is revealed. When a light gate wins, it moves the gate up the track first. If a dark gate wins, it moves down. What is this? Why are gates different? Hold on. We gotta see if there's any notes about this. No. Problem is, it sounds really interesting. The gate token will be moved when a gate is revealed. When a light gate wins, it moves the gate up the track first. If a dark gate wins, it moves down. What does the gate token mean? I don't know, but it sounds interesting. Ugh, terrible notes. Okay, where'd it go? Where'd it go? What does this mean? Bad note taking. Alright. When the villagers and ghosts tokens are active. Huh? Living characters. What? Huh? What does that even mean? The tokens are below the spots of the villagers. Okay, when the Living players will get to move one of the villagers. For every dead character, a token moves up their bravery track. I don't know. Reverse situation for the dark side. Sure, villagers are going to provide information to the main characters, but can't equip anything. Oh, right. So, okay. That makes sense. Theory here is players have more time to explore and look for items. Ghosts are added face down. They are allowed one action. They will go to a room, reveal they are real. Reveal they are real, perform their action, and dissipate. Why would I have them dissipate? Ghosts are added face down. And why would they be face down? They are allowed one action. I honestly feel like this design is it's like these little, all these little bits that are kind of competing for attention, and I have to find the core of this game. I mean, I know what I want the core mechanic to be and kind of the core presentation. Just kind of all the extra bits around it. I have to figure it out. Moving around rooms, looking for equipment, protect themselves, ores, but yeah, that's straightforward. Let's see, skeletons and spirits. 2 actions per turn. Actions per turn is adjustment point. Spirits, 1 action per turn. I think the reason I gave skeletons 2 actions per turn is that they're actually a physical being in the house, so they actually have to move from point A to point B. So rather than make them feel like a nerfed character where they can't really do much in a particular turn, if you give them 2 actions, then they can run around and they can be a bit more useful. Again, this goes back to one of the first questions we asked was, are we going to do movement points, or are we going to do kind of like just regions that you move through, so movement is going to be quick. I have no idea what the time sink is going to be for this game, so that's probably why I wrote here actions per turn is adjustment point. Spirits, 1 action per turn. So spirits, they're kind of powerful, so you have to nerf them a bit or hold them back a bit, at least for the start. They can move through walls and floors. They can move cards from one room to another, so that's going to be kind of fun. Can look at entire room. This might be too strong, so the idea is that you can look at an entire deck of cards in a room. It sounds powerful, but with 1 action per turn, it might be right. It might be balanced. We don't know. Rituals anywhere. Rituals anywhere. Really? I don't know about that one. Turn living, yeah, and then turn living into spirit. That's fine. Okay, gate timer. There are 10 or some number of original gates in setup. When all these gates have been claimed, the necromancer will spawn and the fight will begin. Gates added via ritual are temporary gates and show as different color style. Need to add boss battle. When the necromancer is added to the board, their token is added. I'm going to leave the necromancer out of the first proto and play it up to until it's summoned. Yes, absolutely. Okay. So I feel like I need to do a little bit of work on this on the side, because this is I realize this is just a riveting viewing, but I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of clean up kind of the loose ends here and really just dig into the first identify the core bits of this game and build a system that functions as a game. Not even necessarily a game, just build a system that functions as a system. I think that's going to be our first step. So I know when Joe and I talked about this the first time, he had the idea that it was going to be really simple, really quick, really straightforward, and I don't see it that way. I can see why he would say that, but I feel like I want to do something a bit heavier with this game. I need to. I think the simple core is there, and I want to try and build something a bit more robust on top of it. And if it doesn't work out, then we can just tear it down and go back to kind of the simple original idea. So that's where we're at. So thank you for hanging out. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me on the Twitter machine at TGIK Games. You can also catch our podcast, Cardboard Architects, which is on iTunes and Stitcher. And thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you next time.